Imagine waking up to the realization that the world you know, the home you love, is quite literally on fire. Climate change is not some distant possibility. It's a reality that's destabilizing our planet today. Every year, we witness record-breaking temperatures, devastating wildfires, catastrophic storms, and communities forced to leave behind everything they know. The science is clear. Human-caused emissions are driving this crisis, and if we don't act, we risk crossing thresholds from which there may be no return. Tipping points, those dangerous moments when ecosystems or climate systems irreversibly change, are looming closer than ever. If we reach them, we could trigger feedback loops that accelerate warming, leading to the collapse of vital natural systems and even threatening the stability of our civilization. Despite mounting warnings from scientists, passionate calls from environmental activists, and heartfelt pleas from young people, real action can feel agonizingly slow. Many politicians hesitate to commit to bold measures, fearing short-term backlash or lost votes. Meanwhile, the fossil fuel industry, armed with enormous wealth and influence, does everything in its power to maintain the status quo. Their lobbying, misinformation, and resistance to change are formidable obstacles. It often seems that humanity is trapped by its own greed and obsession with immediate profits, unable to rally together to protect its own future. For countless people, especially the younger generation, this is a source of deep anxiety and disillusionment. Instead of looking forward to lives filled with opportunity, many now wonder whether they have a future at all. Some are even questioning whether it's responsible to bring new children into a world seemingly on the brink of disaster. This is an age where news of extinction, loss, and despair often dominates the headlines. The scale of the problem can feel overwhelming, making giving up or turning away the only rational response. But here's an essential truth. You are not doomed. Humanity is not doomed. The climate crisis is serious, perhaps the greatest challenge we have ever faced. But even amidst the darkness, there are real reasons for hope. Positive trends have emerged in recent years, and there is a path forward. Let's start by facing the hard facts. Climate change is often described as an existential threat, the end of human civilization, even the extinction of our species. And it's true that, as of 2022, our planet has already warmed by about 1.2 degrees C above pre-industrial levels. The Paris Agreement set a goal of limiting warming to 1.5 degrees, but we're likely to miss that target. Even at 1.2 degrees C, the impacts are clear. Heat waves, floods, droughts, and storms are becoming more frequent and more intense. Ecosystems everywhere are under pressure, and some may not survive the coming decades. If we continue on our current path and eventually reach 3 degrees C, large regions may become uninhabitable, particularly in developing nations. Hundreds of millions could be forced from their homes, and the costs in lives, livelihoods, and ecosystems would be staggering. But here's the critical point. The worst-case scenarios are now far less likely than they once were. A decade ago, many experts feared we were headed for catastrophic warming, perhaps 4 degrees C or more by the end of the century. This doomsday scenario would have meant a world transformed into a furnace, with billions at risk. Media coverage focused on these alarming projections, deepening the sense of despair. Yet thanks to a combination of technological progress, shifting economics, and global awareness, the probability of such an outcome has dropped dramatically. If current policies stay in place, we're on track for about 3 degrees of warming by 2100. That's still far too high, but it's a real improvement over the nightmare scenarios once predicted. Most importantly, it means that while civilization will be challenged, it is unlikely to collapse entirely. Humanity will endure, adapt, and with effort, thrive. What changed? The story is more hopeful than you might think. For years, the narrative was one of failure. Governments stalled, emissions soared, and fossil fuel interests dominated. But beneath the surface, powerful shifts were underway. Let's rewind 20 years. Between 2000 and 2010, emissions surged by 24%, fueled by subsidies and skyrocketing fossil fuel use, especially in rapidly developing countries. It seemed inevitable that coal and oil would dominate for decades to come. But the 2010s marked a turning point. Coal use slowed in India, plateaued in China, and plummeted in the US and Europe. Since 2015, 3/4 of planned coal plants have been canceled, and dozens of countries have pledged to stop building new ones. Coal, the dirtiest of fuels, is dying, not because of politics, but because it's no longer economically viable. The technology that many once dismissed as too expensive or unreliable has rapidly matured. In just a decade, wind energy has become 3 times cheaper, and solar energy 10 times cheaper. Today, solar power is less costly than any fossil fuel alternative, even after accounting for the massive subsidies and entrenched infrastructure supporting oil and coal. The growth has been staggering. Solar output is 25 times higher than it was a decade ago, and wind power nearly 5 times higher. A major challenge for renewables is reliability. Sun and wind aren't always available, so energy storage is essential. Here, too, progress has been remarkable. Battery prices have plummeted by 97% in 30 years, 60% in just the past decade. This makes electric vehicles, large-scale grid storage, and new forms of green technology increasingly affordable, accelerating the transition away from fossil fuels. The shift isn't limited to electricity. Across all sectors, innovation is driving emissions reductions. Energy-efficient LED lighting, electric vehicles, improved insulation, and even slower ship speeds are contributing. Engineers and entrepreneurs around the world are pouring their creativity into solutions, developing low-emission cement and steel, lab-grown meat, and advanced carbon capture technologies. The effects are already visible. Emissions have fallen in many wealthy countries, often without harming economic growth. Since 2000, the European Union has cut emissions by 21%, Italy by 28%, the UK by 35%, and Denmark by 43%. Once, it was assumed that economic growth would inevitably mean more emissions. But now, countries like France, the Czech Republic, and even the United States have proven that it's possible to grow richer while polluting less. And where rich countries lead, poorer countries can follow, adopting cleaner technologies as costs fall. In 2020, 7 in 10 new cars sold in Norway were electric or hybrid. A year later, it was 10. The more these technologies spread, the cheaper and better they become for everyone. Still, we have a long way to go. The rate of progress remains too slow, and we cannot rely on technology alone. We must also design goods to last longer, reduce resource use, and build smarter infrastructure in cities. Policy changes remain essential, and overcoming resistance from powerful interests will not be easy. But for the first time, there is real momentum. If we've achieved so much despite lukewarm support and active opposition, imagine what's possible with real investment and political will. Despair is dangerous. It leads to apathy, which only benefits those who want to delay change. The fossil fuel lobby has, in a sense, weaponized hopelessness, turning it into a tool for inaction. But we are not powerless. The evidence shows that change is possible, and the future is not predetermined. Most governments now acknowledge climate change and have set targets for net zero emissions. Young people are stepping up, demanding action, and bringing fresh ideas. Industrial systems are shifting, and the tide of public opinion is turning. Choosing hope is not naive, it's necessary. The climate crisis is real, but so is our capacity to meet it. We have already steered away from the worst fates once feared. Now our task is to keep pushing, turning a projected 3°C world into 2°C, then lower if we can. Your actions, your voice, and your hope all matter. The world is changing. Be part of the movement that saves it. Remember, despair is the last weapon of those who fear change. Let's not let them win. Did you find our videos helpful? Please like and subscribe to our channel so we can be motivated to answer the questions that people are still wondering about.